Vice President of Brand Marketing at NASCAR, is with us today on the Redhead Racing Radio. Pete, it looks like you're in your office. How you doing, man?
I'm good. It's good to be back in NASCAR Plaza on the 20th floor, overlooking South Charlotte. Pretty quiet office, but we got people rotating in throughout the week, so it's good to see some people with masks on, of course.
I was gonna say, is your job kind of getting back to normal? I saw you're at Bristol, and now you're back at the office. Does it kind of feel like you're getting back to normal in NASCAR?
I don't know what normal is now, to be honest. But yeah, it feels like more of a routine, and it's great to be back at the track. I have yet to be deemed as essential to be in the infield, but I've had the good fortune to be at Talladega and Bristol and Daytona coming up here in a couple weeks.
I love it. So your title is Vice President of Brand Marketing at NASCAR. So could you kind of explain what exactly your job entails?
Yeah, so I oversee the marketing group within the company for the sanctioning body. There are four kind of essential groups within the overarching marketing group. The first is fan engagement. So those are all of the functions that really, connect our brand to fans and to new sort of consumer audiences. So our brand group, our media group, our fan development group, things like digital marketing, so one-to-one marketing, email and very kind of tailored marketing. And then we've got I probably should have started with this, the research and insights group. So a group of really, really smart colleagues, data scientists and people far smarter than I am. And they really kind of inform everything that we do, from messaging to where we invest, to how we present ourselves, to, how we engage with fans. So everything that we do is really kind of a data and insight driven sort of culture. And it starts with the marketing organization. We've got the marketing services group, and that is the team that oversees marketing for the NASCAR property, the tracks for the NASCAR properties since we merged with ISC back in October of 2019. And the team also liaises or works with the race teams and with the drivers to make sure that they're fully integrated into our marketing strategy and marketing plans. And then the last group is marketing activation. So that's really kind of any sort of brand engagements with fans, with industry people. So a lot of our kind of event activation throughout the season. So a lot of different kind of disciplines within the broader marketing group.
So we're curious as to your career path to your current role with NASCAR as Vice President of Brand Marketing. So can you kind of walk us through how you got there?
Yeah, absolutely. I started, I've always been kind of fascinated, even with college, of kind of the connection between brands and people, products and sports and services and humans. And I started on the agency side of the business, working in media planning, and then evolved to account planning. So a lot of kind of insights-based kind of work, and really trying to get to the underlying kind of themes and motivations of consumers and what, motivates them and connects them with certain brands and products. And then I spent a couple years on the media side of the business. And after that, I went to the brand side, working for MasterCard for 10 years, kind of a behemoth global brand. Worked both globally and here in the US as well. And got to a great, run at MasterCard, so much opportunity to work on the Priceless campaign. And then I got to a point where I just, I wanted to really be passionate about a brand that I felt was really kind of established, but had so much opportunity to kind of, evolve in kind of the story of that brand. And the NASCAR opportunity kind of came to my attention, and I thought, man, I love cars. I love sports. I'm now a diehard race fan, and it's really been a blessing to kind of be a steward of the NASCAR brand over the past 6 years or so.
So did you know much about NASCAR before you came to the NASCAR side, or did you kind of learn as you got to the job? And
Yeah, I would have called myself a very casual fan. So I tune into the Daytona 500. Back then I knew, Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson and Earnhardt Jr. But I quickly became an avid fan after just a couple months of being closer to the sport.
So diving into some of the specifics of what NASCAR does marketing wise, the sport's been in transition with its stars moving away from Tony Stewart, Dale Jr., Jeff Gordon, and moving into some new guys like Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, and the likes of them. So how does the sport go about kind of building, or from your perspective as a NASCAR's marketing team, building up the brands of those younger stars now to kind of reach the level that those past stars that have since retired reached when they were in the sport?
Yeah, that's a huge kind of point and really kind of opportunity. And I think it's not unique to NASCAR. Every sport kind of goes through, the transition of superstars and emerging stars and all that. So, we lost obviously some superstars retired from racing full time, in recent years, but what we do have is an incredible bench of younger talent that's emerging and now really, performing on the track. But it really is different the way that they're kind of coming up in the sport of NASCAR. That's one of the reasons why we work with them really closely on kind of nurturing their persona on digital and social platforms, and really kind of trying to help them kind of find their voice and support them however they need support. We want them to be where young people are and to make a connection. There's also a lot more kind of data that goes into it as well. So every quarter we do a really comprehensive kind of a dashboard on the top Cup drivers. So we really can see sort of trends and kind of forecasts like where there's opportunity, geographically with certain types of consumers and fans, where there's kind of an appeal and a connection. So there's also kind of the sort of data side to it as well. We've also done a lot with kind of pairing the drivers with different celebrities and influencers. So in the past few years, we've really made more of an effort and really ramped up our influencer marketing, but also do that in a way that we're kind of pairing them with people that you've got common interests and personalities that are compromising. So it comes across as authentic. If anything seems like too forced, it'll definitely backfire on you. So it's a different sort of point in time when these young drivers are really kind of making their name in a big way, and we really want to make sure that we're doing everything possible to kind of help them along with their journey.
You mentioned helping young drivers find their voice, but another part of your job is not only helping the drivers find the voice, but the sport finding a voice. This year we had a couple of different campaigns. One was not expected. One was Am NASCAR, and then NASCAR's back, obviously. What are some of the cool campaigns that have stuck out to you in years past, and what goes through your mind when you're first thinking of something in a unique, different way to promote the sport?
Yeah, I think when it comes to a campaign, I think that the best campaigns, NASCAR or any kind of brand or advertising campaign in general, are those that are rooted in some sort of a human sort of truth or insight. And I think that there's just really much more opportunity for it to make that sort of connection with the people that you want it to. And sort of the essence of Am NASCAR is that NASCAR isn't just the league or just the racers or it's so many things. And so it's like the community and the combination of all these things. So that's been, it's top of mind because we launched it this year, but I think it also, we test all of our advertising and brand campaigns with our fans. We talk to thousands of fans each and every week. And so they give us great feedback and kind of helpful tips on how to, streamline things and make things really kind of, connect with our fans. Another one that's just a little bit more on kind of the fun and interesting side from a creative standpoint. I don't know if you remember, Andrew, but I think it was the 2016 Chase. So the last year of the Chase. And we had a campaign, the Chase campaign, where we basically had stunt doubles of the drivers, and we had them basically kind of reenacting storylines of the different elimination rounds. So I think that, you know, it was through city streets from the, you know, from the round of 16 to 12. And then we were in the woods in a forest from 12 to 8. And then we were, I think, around the ocean around Miami from 8 to Champ 4. And that was just really, I mean, literally we had these stunt doubles, you know, in the fire suits, with helmets, and they were literally like kind of reenacting what had transpired on the track the previous 3 races. And so you had, you know, people taking each other out and kind of wrecks and stuff like that. And that was just a little bit more kind of a art. You're like, what is this? Like, this is, you know, stock car racing, and you've got these guys running through the woods, like taking each other out. But the effective piece of that is it grabbed your attention, right? So the playoffs are in a very competitive, you know, point of the time in the year when you've got college football and NFL. And so we really needed something that would kind of stand out. So that creatively was probably the most, you know, the most thrilling and kind of rewarding campaign that I've worked at in my time at NASCAR.
That's so funny you mentioned that. I still sometimes look back on YouTube and watch the 2016 entire campaign through. It's like 12-minute video or something like that. Fantastic.
Surprised I still have my job after that, but I don't know.
Was that your idea?
Well, no, it was our advertising agency at the time. It was their idea. But it was, you know, we take that idea and then we have to sort of sell it in, you know, to leadership and to the industry. And obviously the OEMs being such a, you know, an important part of our business, of our industry, you know, something like that, we obviously kind of sell into them, and they, you know, you're presenting to Ford, Toyota, and Chevy, and they're like, where's the car? Like, yeah. But I think just the fact that it was, you know, our point was to really like stand out and be like, oh, you know, shucks, what is this, you know, NASCAR, then the chase, now the playoffs kind of all about. So
definitely a very memorable campaign. And speaking of memorable, this season's going to be very memorable for a lot of different ways, given the pandemic and all that has transpired since then. So I was wondering, what are some of the challenges and even opportunities NASCAR's worked through in the last few months, coming back from the pandemic to race, and now even going into the playoffs, where you might have some unique opportunities to promote and get people excited about the playoffs this fall?
Yeah, I think, you know, listen, it's been a incredibly, you know, wild, challenging year for really virtually everyone, and it still is. And I think we're far from out of the woods. But I have to say, you know, as cliche as it may sound, I'm so like proud of the sport and of our leadership for the decisions that they've made and the steps they've made and the actions that they've taken since really the mid-March timeframe. I think just going back to when we paused racing on the track, I remember the day, Friday, March 13th. And a week later, you know, we had taken the iRacing partnership and platform, and our digital team created the Pro Invitational Series. So like that, and then, you know, we were racing basically, you know, in Atlanta, or basically going on the circuit to all these tracks. And it is hopefully some of you have seen iRacing, and specifically the Pro Invitational Series, but it's pretty amazing. And to get all of the drivers on board, and they were getting, you know, these rigs delivered to their houses and getting trained and all that in a matter of literally, you know, days and hours. And through that period, I think we just really tried to lean on other areas, content, iRacing and heat and other ways that we could provide entertainment and really a distraction, you know, to fans and people during you know, some really, you know, some tough weeks for most Americans. And then made the decision and had the opportunity to return to racing. And it literally was, I think, you know, by the time we had had the approval from the governors of South Carolina and North Carolina, we had literally kind of 2 weeks to mobilize. And I have to hand it to our competition team, the amount of preparation and the partnership with, you know, federal and state and local health officials and government officials. The protocols, I mean, the protocol document and guidelines were like huge, like, and just day and night kind of working through that with the end goal of just being, you know, as safe as possible and structuring it that if somebody did contract the COVID, that it wouldn't take down everyone. So really kind of sectioning how people sort of travel and who they interact with, and people that are traveling to tracks don't go to the race shops and all of that. And then a couple weeks of racing without fans, we got the opportunity to bring some fans back to the track. And again, a matter of a couple weeks. And as you know, things are still changing literally, by the day, in the country. But we had in Miami and then Talladega, we basically, invited a select group of guests to the track, really to just make sure, and very minimal number of fans, to make sure that, all of our protocols and procedures and processes and all of that was really safe. And again, safety being the number one sort of priority. And I think we've gotten into a pretty good groove. I think that the balance of the season, it depends a lot on state kind of laws, and obviously working closely with governors in every state where we race. So some races you'll see, upwards of, 10, 15, even a bit more fans, and some races, even in the playoffs, you're going to probably see no fans. And then, I think just, throughout all of this, I think the decision that our leadership have made, and how they've kind of acted and how they've responded, and it's just really like the industry in general has just come together in ways that, I've only been around for 6.5 years, but people that have been here, for a decade or two or more, that are like, that the industry has never come together, and been this harmonious ever. So even, tough times, it brings out sometimes the best in people and organizations. And I think it really has done that for NASCAR.
You mentioned the playoffs, and right before we started this podcast, I mentioned I'm going back to Arizona next week. Obviously, Phoenix, the new host of the championship event. And I know that was one of the markets when we've talked in the past that you guys really wanted to get back into, involve the community. So what kind of thought process went into involving a different market in Phoenix, and what are some of the other markets that you're looking to grow in the future years?
Yeah, Andrew, that's a great point, and not to belabor this point about kind of a data-driven company, but you're gonna see we're gonna be announcing our 2021 schedule finally, probably in a couple weeks here later in August, and you're gonna see some different things that you maybe wouldn't have expected. And again, I have to hand it to our leadership and the competition team. Our research team is really kind of helping to inform them with data and insights to make decisions. So I think in the past, maybe, there have been other factors that have weighed into where we've raced and how many races we go and, when we go and all of that. But we've got a data table of, hundreds of kind of rows and columns that look at markets across the country, and a number of different kind of, data sets and insights to really help us understand where's kind of the biggest opportunity. And that's like a, case in point where like a Nashville, we're going to be racing in Nashville next year, likely. And that's, a market where it's just right from a fan, from, existing fans, from future fans, the population growth, just the demographic sort of, concentration in that market. Just so many factors that make that market just a huge opportunity for NASCAR. Similarly, in Phoenix too, I think that they are draw from other kind of DMAs that are close to Phoenix as well. But it's so there's so much opportunity to kind of have a new sort of championship, crowning championships, and at a new track and a new market with a different vibe. So really excited, and I'm excited for you to see what the 2021 schedule holds. You're going to see some things that I think you maybe wouldn't have expected, but I think it's going to make for an incredible 2021 season.
Without like giving away too much, you have like a little tease for the 2021 schedule, I'll give you this, like on a scale of like 1 to 10, 10 being like completely different, 1 being it's pretty similar. How different is it going to be?
Oh, I'd say like a 6.
A 6. Okay. Interesting.
On the higher end.
I think it is. We'll see if you would rate it that when you see it. I can't really give away too much, and I don't know all the details, but I mean, they're people love, our fans and legacy longtime fans and new fans. They love They love short tracks. They love road courses, and they love variety, and all these things need to be sort of taken into consideration. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the 6, and we'll see if you can call me out if you felt it was something different.
That's a solid number right there.
So speaking of doing different things with the 2021 schedule, marketing seems like always a challenge of doing something different to stand out. And one thing I've noticed NASCAR has done over the few years is partnering with other media organizations to kind of promote the sport. So you've partnered with VaynerMedia and Gary Vaynerchuck's brand. And I'm a big fan of Gary Vee. I like consuming his content. I think it's really interesting, and his perspective on all kinds of marketing tactics that are happening with all kinds of brands. I find it really fascinating. So I was wondering, how does bringing in an outside non-racing perspective agency like VaynerMedia help NASCAR find new and different ways to promote the sport, or what do they help you accomplish overall?
Yeah, they are, Gary Vee and the empire kind of that he's built. I have a lot of admiration. I would say that they're a very kind of atypical kind of marketing advertising agency, and one that is much better equipped for this point in time. I think the traditional kind of agency model is probably going to just struggle, just given how brands and companies sort of operate and where they need to focus and invest. But I think Gary and his team, I think that what they've done so well is they help kind of train and inspire us and kind of guide us. And what they've really, they've really in a very unapologetic way, they've kind of like, wake up, be authentic, be real, stop being so polished, stop being so, PC with everything that you do, test things, be constantly testing and learning, put, $30 of paid behind, Facebook, these 10 things of content, and see what pops. And that was just a very different way of thinking for us as an organization. They also helped us with kind of the drivers. That's a big area and reason why we kind of onboarded them. So drivers are, a number of drivers have a personal now connection with Gary Vee, and I think we could, give drivers and their teams different sort of, tips and suggestions and tools. And in some ways it might be effective. But when Gary or the, VaynerMedia team does it, they probably kind of tune in a little bit more. So they've really trained us, to really think differently about how you approach marketing and where you invest and where you do need to invest. And they're, the traditional marketing model and, spending all this time and money on these beautifully produced, 30-second television ads. Yep, television gives you mass reach, but like what you really need to be doing is be a content engine. And that's, I think, what the company and the industry has become a lot better at being in the last couple of years.
Pete, man, I appreciate all the insight you've given us. There's so much to take away from this, and thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to talk to us.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure, and hope to see you guys soon at a racetrack.
Yeah, I know. We need to get back to the track. And also, I'm rocking your I Am NASCAR shirt for you.
I love it.
Right
I will definitely see you in Phoenix, all right?
Oh, so I got the invite? I can go?
Yeah, that's my guess.
Fantastic.
You're going to sneak in anyway. Like,
Yeah.
I have no doubt you're going to be at that race.
Exactly.
Awesome. Thank you, Pete, for joining us.
Thanks, guys.